Hey everyone, this is Peter from Tabletop Gaming Guild. Recently we received PDFs from Free League Publishing for a bunch of their tabletop role-playing games, and I want to take a few minutes to show off one of them to you today. Today we're going to take a quick look at Alien the RPG. This is not going to be a full rules preview though. The core rulebook, as you can see here, is about 400 pages of content. This is just going to be me scrolling through a bit of the PDF with you, showing off the core concepts of the game, and hopefully helping you decide if this might be a game you are interested in checking out further and maybe purchasing and playing. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'm going to go ahead and to our views and go to full screen mode so we can get a real nice view of the cover here of the PDF. And right off the bat, the cover art should give us a feel for what we are getting ourselves into with this game. The game is set in the same world as the Alien movies. It's dark, gritty, sci-fi horror, and I love this cover. The lone space explorer with the looming xenomorph drooling in the background, both encircled by the alien's skeletal tail. We are immediately drawn inward to the speck of light on the helmet. It's an incredibly evocative piece of art, and I think it works wonderfully as the cover for this RPG. Then, as we jump out of that mode, we're going to go ahead and scroll on over to the table of contents for this game, and we can learn from these 4 pages a good bit of what's in store for us in the game itself. The title of the first section sets the theme of the game. It's called Space is Hell, and this section is all about getting the players and the GM, or in this game, the Game Mother, into the setting of the game. It explains what the frontier of space is like, and it explains about the 2 types of gameplay. There's cinematic gameplay and there's campaign gameplay. And we're going to go ahead and take a quick look as to what those 2 types of gameplays are like. We're going to go ahead and jump over to that page as well. And it says here that cinematic scenarios emulate the dramatic arc of an alien film. Designed to be played in a single session, this game mode emphasizes high stakes and fast and brutal play. Conflict between the player characters is even likely, and you are not all expected to survive. In fact, most of your PCs probably won't live to see the end of the scenario. There are already some cinematic scenarios that are available out there for purchase. I know that the Chariot of the Gods cinematic scenario is available in the starter box set that Free League Publishing has put out. Now, campaign play is designed for longer continuous play with the same cast of player characters over several game sessions, perhaps even dozens of sessions. In campaign play, you create your own PCs using the rules in Chapter 2. Campaign play can also be brutal and deadly, but the chances for your PCs to survive a night of play are generally higher than in cinematic play. So those are the 2 different styles of play. Again, cinematic play being single session, highly brutal. Your PCs are probably going to go through a lot of issues and possibly die. Whereas campaign play, for those of you out there who play role-playing games and you play those long campaigns, this is what they're talking about here. So 2 different game modes. I personally am really looking forward to trying out their cinematic play, a scenario that can be played in a single session, one night just with some friends around the table. Lots of brutal combat, hopefully, with some aliens, but I think it's interesting that your PCs, their player characters, might come into conflict as well. So that's the first section here, just kind of getting you into the idea and the core ideas of the setting and the gameplay that you're going to be getting yourselves into if you decide to play Alien RPG. The second section of the book is entitled Your Character. It touches on the core concepts of the character, their personal agendas, their gear, and their careers or jobs. Each of these things will help you dive deeper into your character, making them come even more alive for you as the player. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the different types of characters and or professions that you have to choose from when playing Alien. So we're going to go ahead and jump to that section real quick. And we can see here that each of these types of characters come with personal agendas. You can choose appearances, the gear that they're going to have, a signature item that they're going to have. Here we have the Colonial Marine. I like this piece of art. I'm going to go ahead and jump into a full screen again so we can get a real good look at this piece of art here. So we've got the Colonial Marine all decked out in their gear with their weapon. We also have the Colonial Marshall. Very interesting and intriguing looking character. I like the art style that they went with for this game. We've got the company agent, so if you're somebody who's out there working for maybe a corporate agency and you're under subterfuge and everything, company agent might be an option for you. They also have the kid. I love this piece of art. The lighting in it is really well done. I'm definitely getting a little Stranger Things kind of feel personally when I look at this piece of art. But it's really cool. This kid means business. We've also got medics. We've got officers. Pilots. For those of you who enjoy the idea of space piloting, there is some rules for space combat in this game, and I'm sure that's going to come into play if you decide to play a pilot. There's also the roughneck and the scientist, and that is it for the different character types that they've got for us in this game. We're going to jump back to the table of contents again, and our next section is the section on skills. It explains about rolling dice and the skills with which we play the game and we try to accomplish tasks or fight aliens. And in this RPG, you'll be rolling a number of D6s, so no D12s, 8s, 20s, any of that. This game is specifically a D6 game. The number of D6s that you'll be rolling is dependent on the skill or talent that comes into play when you're trying to do something. But we're not going to get into the different 12 skills that are in this game, but we will take a quick look at rolling dice because I think it is one of the really fun things about this particular game. So we're going to jump over to the section on rolling dice, and I'm going to read a little bit of what we have here. I'll go ahead and again and zoom into, no, not read mode, we're going to zoom into full screen mode here. So rolling dice, when you use a skill, first describe what your character does or says. So that's pretty obvious, but then you're going to add your skill level to your score and the attribute connected to the skill, and you're going to grab that many base dice. And then if you have any stress, which we'll talk about a little bit more here in a bit, add these to your dice pool as well. Then you're going to roll all the dice together, and really all you need to do is roll one of these like hash mark symbols, or it's crosshair symbols, which is in place of the 6. So if you're using regular dice, if you roll a 6, it's going to be a success, but you have to roll at least one success. 1 6 or 1, again, crosshairs if you're using the dice that they have made specifically for the Alien game. And now we specifically talked about, says if you have any stress. So in this game there is the added level of stress that your character will take, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in a bit. But on the stress dice, your number 1 has been replaced with a xenomorph symbol. So if you see there on the screen, there's a little, looks like a little xenomorph with the tail going around it. And if you would happen to roll one of those, then you risk panicking, and if you panic, there's a whole nother table that you get to roll on to see what happens. So again, you're going to be rolling d6s based on your attribute or your skill that you're using, as well as possibly rolling stress dice. So if you're stressed, you get to roll more dice with a chance of better chance of success. But again, there's also the chance that you're going to be, with those stress dice, that you're going to be rolling the xenomorph on your die, and if you do that, you risk panicking. So stress is helpful, but also not great. If you don't roll any of the crosshairs, then you have failed. And here's a little section where it talks about your chances of success, and you can push your roll, which means you get to roll your dice again. But again, that's going to up your stress level every time you are rolling and pushing your roll. You're taking the chance that you're going to get stressed too much, and then you're going to roll a xenomorph, and then you're going to panic. So you can push your roll like it talks about here, and then also, like I was talking about, there's the stress level that builds and builds as you play through the game and as you try to roll better. Because again, if you get more than one success, if you get more than one 6 or more than one of those crosshairs, you can also not just succeed, but you can perform stunts, which it talks more about throughout the book. So yes, D6s, you're looking for at least one success with the crosshair or a 6. If you roll stress dice and you get a xenomorph, then you're going to possibly panic. And if you panic, you'll be rolling on the panic chart, which I'm going to show you that here in just a little bit. So yeah, so that, get back out of that mode there, and we're going to jump back to our table of contents here. So that's the skills section with a focus on rolling dice. The next section that they have in here is each job type and or character type has built-in talents. That's the next section here. It lays out what talents belong to each type of character in the game, and we can get a quick example of this. I'm not going to go through each of them. It's actually the shorter section in the book. But I don't want to get too bogged down in that stuff, but we're going to check out one of them real quick, and since I liked the art so much for the kid, we're going to check out the kid's talent, and we're going to jump to that page real quick, and we'll go ahead and go to full screen mode again. So we can see here there's company agent talents, medic talents, and kid talents. We're going to read the kid talents one real quick. So beneath notice, no matter what horrible situations you end up in, you always seem to make it out unscathed, probably because no one ever pays much attention to you. When you roll for a critical injury on yourself, you get to re-roll the dice and choose the result that you prefer. Dodge. When attacked in close combat, you can dodge. This works like blocking. We're going to see page 92 for that, but you roll using mobility instead of close combat, and you can only use it to reduce damage, not counterattack or disarm. You can even dodge a creature's signature attack. And then nimble. Fun and games, maybe to others, but you know the truth. All that play has kept your reflexes sharp. You can push any skill roll based on agility twice, not just once like other characters, and each push increases your stress level by 1. So each character type has a chart like this, or a little word bubble like this, where it lists your talents that you have that other people do not. So it's just a special set of skills that your character will have that others do not have access to. And there's one of those, like I said, for each of the different character types that we looked at a second ago. Now, the 5th section of the book is called Combat and Panic, and the Alien films are action sci-fi horror films, right? So the game is meant to be the same. In this game, the players and their characters are meant to feel a level of fear and dread. Helping to reinforce those themes is the combat that will inevitably take place, but also the mechanics of stress and panic that we were kind of mentioning earlier. So we're going to jump to that section real quick and take a look at what they mean by stress and panic and what the panic roll table looks like. So I'm going to jump over there. I love the art again. Yeah, so if you're seeing something like this, if you're in a military type setting, you're going to start to have stress. So I think it's interesting and good that they went ahead and added stress and panic as a mechanic in the game. So here it says the mounting tension in your character is measured by their stress level. It usually starts at 0 and increases during the course of the game. Your stress level increases by 1 whenever one of the following happens. If you push a skill roll, you fire a burst of full auto fire from your weapon, you suffer 1 or more points of damage, you go without sleep, food, or water, you perform a coup de grace, or a scientist in your team fails to use the analysis talent, a member of your own crew attacks you, a person nearby is revealed to be an android, you encounter certain creatures or locations as determined by the scenario or the GM. So lots of different things here will adjust your stress level, increasing it. And each time it increases, and then you make a skill roll, you're gaining stress dice. So whenever you make a skill roll, you must add a number of stress dice equal to your current stress level to your roll. Your stress makes you more focused. Again, it's giving you a better chance to succeed. But there's a flip side to this. If you roll one or more of the xenomorph symbols, or a 1 on your d6 on your stress die, you must make a panic roll. And so this section here tells you about panic rolls. You need to make a panic roll when any of the following happens. You roll one or more of the xenomorphs on your stress dice, like we were just saying, or maybe you witness a friendly character suffering from a certain panic effect. You are pinned down by a ranged attack. You suffer a critical injury. You're attacked by strange alien creatures that you've never seen before. A truly horrific event occurs as determined again by the scenario or the GM. So there's lots of different reasons that you might end up needing to make a panic roll. And again, this goes over some areas where you can stop panicking or maybe relieve some of your stress. We're not going to get into all that right now, but there's even a part here where it talks about permanent mental trauma for your character, so it can be pretty bad for your characters. And then here is the panic roll table that was mentioned with some of the effects. So if you make a panic roll and you roll a 1 to 6, you're good. You keep it together. You manage to keep on going, but barely. You roll a 7, all of a sudden you've got a nervous twitch. It says your stress level and the stress level of all friendly PCs in short range of you increases by 1. You might drop an item, you might freeze, you might have to run and seek for cover, you might scream, and again, all of these things are not only affecting you, but they can affect the other player characters around you. And 15 or more on a panic roll says catatonic. You collapse to the floor and you can't talk or move, staring blankly into oblivion. So I really, again, with the horror theme of the game, the fact that they put stress and panic building and increasing throughout the game is really well done. I think that's interesting. I also like the idea that, again, when you make those attribute rolls, those skill rolls, when you add more stress dice, you do have a better chance of succeeding. You're rolling more dice, giving you a better percentage chance of success, but it also adds in that level of fear and hesitance, because if you roll those stress dice, you might roll the xenomorph, and if you do, then you're that much closer to panicking. You're that much closer to losing the game, and I think that is actually a lot of fun and interesting. So that is a little bit more about panic and stress in the Alien RPG. Now our next section here, again, we've got sections on gear. Then there is a section called A Hard Life Amongst the Stars, which talks about living in space and space combat. Then there is a section specifically just for the game mother, the person who's going to be running the game. There's a section here just for you, talking about non-player characters, talking about the different types of play, the cinematic play and the campaign play, and again, the overall themes of space horror, sci-fi action, and a sense of wonder, the things that they want to happen in the game, the stress and horror. It talks about the 3 stages of fear, relieving stress, and splitting the team. So all sorts of interesting things here, specifically to be read by the person who's going to be running the game. There's a section on governments and corporations. There's a section on systems and planets. And those are going to help the game master, the game mother, build out the world and build out the game, and hopefully even come up with scenarios for themselves rather than just going out and getting the pre-made ones. Though that's what I do a lot with role-playing games, is I like to buy the pre-made adventures so I can just get right to the playing with my friends. There is then another section all about the different alien species that you and your players may come in contact with. And we're going to go ahead and jump real quick to that section just to take a quick look at some of the art that they have here as well. So if you look down along the bottom of the screen here, we've got alien stages. There's stage 1, which is the egg. And again, if you've seen the movies, you can visualize what this is going to look like. There's stage 2, there's the face hugger. Stage 3, there's the chest burster. Stage 4, there's the scout. Stage 5 is a soldier. And then, of course, stage 6 is a queen xenomorph. And they've got all of these different things built into this section. We're going to go forward just a little bit. I mean, they've got tons of information about the chest burster and the different types of stages. Here is some very visual art here for the chestburster and the attacks that it can possibly make on your player characters. And so this whole section here, again, specifically for the game master, the game mother, to be reading through, to be getting to know the aliens and the creatures that the players are going to be coming up against throughout the game. So the last couple sections, we're going to jump back to the index again. The last couple sections after Alien Species, there's a campaign play section specifically to talk about if you're going to move forward and not play those single session cinematic scenarios, but you're going to go ahead and play a campaign. This last section here, we'll talk about that. And the very last section of the book is called Hope's Last Day. It is a short pre-made scenario. It's got pre-made characters included that you can use as a first introductory gameplay for you and your friends. Now, can you survive? Will you be able to survive? Well, as stated in the movie Alien, I can't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies. So if you are at all interested, I think this is a really well laid out, chock full of content book and role-playing game that Free League Publishing has put out. I know that they've got a starter set out for it. We've made a video review of the starter set if you would like to watch that video and take a look at that. But they have done just a fabulous job of trying to take a very iconic series of films and build a role-playing game around that. And again, I think they did a great job with creating the two styles of play, where you've got the cinematic play that is just, hey, let's just get into it, let's get into the nitty-gritty and just play the game. There's the chance that we're going to die, but it's going to be fun, it's going to be enjoyable. And then they give you the campaign play as well. So that is our overview of the core rulebook for Alien by Free League Publishing. Again, this was just a very quick, cursory look through a 400-page rulebook. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you are excited as I am to eventually play and or run this awesome looking game. If you are interested in finding out more about the game and other games by Free League Publishing, you can go to their website, which will be listed in the notes below the video. They've made a ton of great games, including Tales from the Loop, Morkborg, Coriolis. They even have a Kickstarter currently happening right now where they have adapted one of their games, Symbaroum, for 5th edition. So they've got their own game, Symbaroum, with its own rule set, but they are now adapting the rule set so that if you're somebody who plays 5th edition or D&D, then you can maybe have an easier entry into some of their games, or one of their games, by the rule set being the same but the setting being their setting. So that is a Kickstarter that's happening right now. They finished a successful Kickstarter earlier in the year, at the end of last year, where they now have the Lord of the Rings role-playing game that they're going to be putting out. So tons of great stuff coming out from Free League Publishing, and again, we really appreciate them giving us access to these PDFs so that we can take a look at the games and let you know about them. Again, this was Peter with Tabletop Gaming Guild. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to give it a like, share it with a friend, and check out some of the other videos that we do, where we do playthroughs, review games, and review other game-related products. And until next time, keep on playing games.